Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a special Halloween screencast from yours truly, Mr. Conway. Let's go ahead and get started with Unit 5. This is Day 1, Sleep Theories, and Sleep Disorders. Now, make sure before you do the screencast, you have taken the pre-assessment so we can figure out where you're at with these two standards. If you are in the yellow or the green, you may go ahead with the screencast. If you are in the red, you're going to want to listen to Mr. Conway's supplemental instruction before moving on. So make sure you've got your notebook out. Make sure you're ready to do some Cornell notes. Let's go ahead and get started. Now, we're going to focus on two objectives today. You do not have to write these, but you will be writing the essential questions that stem from them. Describe various states of consciousness and their impact on behavior. This can be things like circadian rhythm. And discuss aspects of sleep and dreaming, stages and characteristics of the sleep cycle, theories of sleep and dreaming, and symptoms of treatments of sleep disorders. We're going to focus on sleep. We're not going to do dreams until Day 2. Okay, here's our first essential question. I would like you to write this. For this screencast, whatever's in the yellow, I would just like you to listen and read. Whatever's in the white, I would like you to copy down. So first essential question is, how do our biological rhythms influence daily functioning? Like the ocean, life has its rhythmic tides. Over varying time periods, our bodies fluctuate, and with them, our minds. Let's look more closely at two of those biological rhythms, our 24-hour biological clock and our 90-minute sleep cycle. So let's first get a definition of consciousness. You've probably heard this word tossed around quite a few times in your life, but what does it really mean? Consciousness is our awareness of ourselves and our environment. When we fall asleep, we are actually drifting into a different state of consciousness. Sleep is actually defined as periodic natural loss of consciousness, as distinct from unconsciousness resulting from a coma, though. So when you're asleep, you actually have lost consciousness, because think about it, when you're asleep, you're not aware of yourself or your environment. Circadian rhythm. Our bodies roughly synchronize with the 24-hour cycle of day and night through a biological clock called the circadian rhythm. There you can see my ocean quote again. So here's what's happening. As you can see on this left-hand picture, as light enters your eye, there's actually something going on a little bit more complicated in your brain. You have something called a pineal gland, this little green jelly bean looking thing. This is responsible for you being sleepy and you being fully awake. There's a hormone called melatonin that is produced by this pineal gland. When light enters the eyeball, the melatonin production is suppressed, meaning it stops. Melatonin is a hormone that makes you sleepy. So light, whether it's natural or whether it's a fluorescent light in your classroom or maybe in your room, or maybe the screen from your phone or your computer, when your eyeball detects light, it tells that pineal gland to, hey, we need to be awake. Don't produce melatonin. So you're more likely to have trouble falling asleep when you're in a very lit environment. Okay, so let's look at the opposite. When it's dark out, as you can see, the moon is out, it's dark. That pineal gland is not getting the message to suppress melatonin. It is going to go ahead and produce melatonin, and as you can see, it is a hormone that makes you sleepy. So there's a reason why we turn our lights out. There's a reason why studies suggest not to stare at your phone an hour before you go to bed or to have the TV on in the room. I'm not saying this is 100% true all the time. Some people, I'm sure, sleep with the TV on every night and it's fine. But statistically and more importantly, generally, this is how we operate. This is why we like to sleep at night. So you need to know pineal gland and melatonin. Okay. Quite a few essential questions with this unit. We're going to move on to the next one. What is the biological rhythm of our sleep? We cycle through our sleep stages about every 90 minutes. We're going to talk about 5 stages of sleep. Well, yeah, 5 stages. 4 of them are going to be numbered, and one of them is going to be called REM sleep. Okay. What's really cool is there's an app that you can download that actually tracks your sleep stages, and it'll show you charts that look exactly like the ones we're about to see. I'm currently using it, and you can ask me about it. It's pretty cool. It's called Pillow. It's an app. There's many that you can, I'm sure, download for free. But it actually helps because you're meant to wake up in a light stage of sleep, but sometimes the reason why you feel groggy is because your alarm goes off and you're stuck in the maybe one of your deep sleep cycles, and you're naturally not supposed to wake up during that cycle, leading you to be groggy all day. So check it out. So here are the 5 stages of sleep, 1 through 4, and then we call the 5th stage is called REM sleep, and we'll talk about that in a second. So if you look up at this chart on the left, we're going to simulate, here's where you're awake. And this chart shows you progressing through the stages vertically, while your hours of sleep are increasing horizontally. So from here, from awake all the way to this blue line over here, that's when you wake up. So all this in between is what's going on when you're asleep. So the red is stage 1, the yellow is stage 2, blue stage 3, and purple or gray is stage 4. So when you're awake, you naturally kind of go numerically through your stages of sleep, 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. Then you cycle back up through 3, through 2, and when you're in stage 1, you actually achieve something called REM sleep. This is where you're going to be doing all of your dreaming. So that cycle right there takes about 90 minutes. So then you cycle through it again. Okay? Now notice that your stage 4, your deep sleep, occurs early in the night, where your REM sleep increases closer to when you actually wake up. So a lot of times if you remember your dreams, that's because you have your REM sleep. Maybe you got woken up in this section right here. But naturally, you should experience your deep sleep early on, and then lighter sleep more towards when you're supposed to wake up. That way you don't feel so groggy. Stages 1 and 2, we call this sleep onset. That is the period that you're, the stage between wakefulness and sleep. This is where you have that dream that you are falling and you suddenly wake up right before you hit the ground. Or you might have a hallucination where you're rising. Hallucinations are perceiving, it's perception in the absence of sensation, basically. And that can happen while you are asleep. Stages 3 and 4 are sometimes called delta sleep. These are going to be where it's very difficult to wake you up. Sleepwalking can occur during stage 4. And you can shout, people can shout your name and you're not going to wake up. It's also if you get woken up during stage 3 or 4, you can be very groggy. Okay, stages 1 and 2 can be characterized through, what happens is they hook an EEG machine up to you to study your sleep. What they're looking at are your brain waves. So your brain is active in different stages of sleep. So during stage 1 and 2, they have what's called alpha waves. These are relatively slow brain waves of a relaxed and awakened state. Then you have what are called delta waves. These are going to be 3 and 4 stage sleep. These are large, slow brain waves associated with deep sleep. So here's kind of what they look like. Alpha waves are going to be these kind of shorter waves, awake and relaxed, and then delta are going to be these long, these more bigger, slower waves, characterized by deep sleep. Also know that if we go back a little bit, stage 2, this burst of activity is called a spindle. It's called a spindle. Okay, REM sleep it's an acronym for rapid eye movement. This is a reoccurring sleep stage during which vivid dreams commonly occur. It's a good thing to note that stages 1 through 4 are sometimes called non-REM sleep or NREM sleep. Okay, so 1 through 4 can be grouped for an NREM sleep, whereas REM is just kind of by itself. So again, these are going to be at the top of your sleep cycle, and this is going to be where you have very vivid dreams. So if you're somebody that says, oh, I never dream or I never remember them, if you were waking up in a REM sleep, you would probably remember your dream. Okay, new essential question. How does sleep loss affect us? So all those people that brag about staying up all night, you're going to have some negative effects. And what's going to happen here is daylight savings time is going to end here this month. And there was a study done that shows that when you have more sleep, there are fewer accidents. So in the fall time change over here to the right, when we gain an hour of sleep, meaning we're going to sleep more than normally, on the Monday morning after that time change, there are fewer accidents. Now, if you go to the spring, when we lose an hour, meaning we spring ahead, the Monday before the time change, look at that accidents right here, below 2,600, and then after the time change, it's over doubled. It's doubled. Okay, so this shows that when we have more sleep, we're definitely we're better off. So here are some of the risks. Heart disease risk increases. After a while, diabetes risk goes up. Some cancers may rise. Obesity is a big one. Weight gain. Stroke risk quadruples. Just after one night, you can lose brain tissue. You're more likely to catch a cold. Your immune system starts to suffer. More likely to have an accident. You're not looking your best, and you are going to be hungry. So people that don't sleep well are at higher risk for obesity. And that happens because it actually does make you fat. It increases the hunger-arousing hormone, ghrelin, and decreases the hunger-suppressing partner, which is leptin. So get some sleep so your metabolism can be on track. All right, one more essential question. Actually, I think we got a couple more. What is sleep's function? So we got a couple theories on sleep. Sleep protects. Think about it. If we're out at night before, back before there were 24-hour, when there was lights all night, you might fall off a cliff. You might fall into a hole. You might run into some sort of obstacle and you might hurt yourself. So it protects us. It also helps us recuperate. If you're sick, if your body needs to just kind of regenerate, sleeping helps to do that. It also helps for making memories. There have been many studies done where they test people's memory and recall. And the ones that have a good night's sleep tend to be able to recall them better. Sleep feeds creative thinking. Our creative juices get flowing after a good night's sleep. And it plays a role in the growth process. You as teenagers need more sleep than your parents. So you can go ahead and tell them it's scientifically proven. Think about a baby. All a baby does is sleep. It's because it grows so fast that it needs to be asleep for that growth process to take place. And the last essential question, what are the major sleep disorders? First one we're going to look at is insomnia. Now, this is a persistent problem of people falling asleep or staying asleep. 1 in 10 adults complain of having insomnia. Narcolepsy. Hollywood makes this seem like a really funny condition, but in fact it is very, very serious. It's very sad. People can just fall asleep like that. That's me snapping my fingers. Very rare. 1 in 2,000 suffer from narcolepsy. This is when the sufferers experience periodic overwhelming sleepiness and can just fall into a deep REM sleep at the drop of a hat at any moment. Usually when they're excited or laughter, so anything like that. So it's really sad because when people get excited or they're laughing at something, they just fall asleep. Sleep apnea. People with this condition intermittently stop breathing during sleep. This is very common in older, overweight males. Snoring is a symptom of this, but just because you snore does not mean that you have sleep apnea. What happens is you stop breathing hundreds of times throughout the night, and your body actually has to wake itself up, and it's a horrible noise that is made, and it can bother partners trying to sleep and other people in the house, and you have to hook up what's called a CPAP mask to keep the airflow going so you can actually breathe. It is, if it's untreated, it can actually be fatal. And night terrors. These are not nightmares. These are typically not remembered. This happens mostly in children. They may sit up or walk around, talk incoherently, and experience a doubling of heart and breathing rates and appear terrified. Children are also most prone to sleepwalking. These are stage 4 sleep disorders. Okay. All right. And I think that is where we're going to end this. Next class, we'll talk about dreams. Be sure to complete the concepts in action. There's a really cool one about dreaming. Now, it's also worth noting that we really don't know why we sleep. Scientists are still not exactly sure. That's why we have these sleep theories. Same thing about dreams when we get talking about those next class. We're not exactly sure why we dream. So it's super cool stuff. Hope you enjoyed the screencast. This is one of my favorite units. I will see you next class. Later.